In this video, I'll be going over assignment 15, which is exercise 7.8 in the textbook, which is parking charges. A parking garage charges a $2 minimum fee to park for up to 3 hours. The garage charges an additional 50 cents per hour for each hour or part thereof in excess of 3 hours. The maximum charge for any given 24-hour period is $10. Assume that no car parks for longer than 24 hours at a time. Write an app that calculates and displays the parking charges for each customer who parked in the garage yesterday. You should enter the hours parked for each customer. The app should display the charge for the current customer and should calculate and display the running total of yesterday's receipts. The app should use method calculate charges to determine the charge for each customer. Okay, so as always, we're going to start our app with the system, using the system directive. And we're going to go ahead and give it a class, and let's name it parking charges since that's what the exercise is. And give it an opening, closing, curly brace. And within that, we will have our main method. The opening and closing curly braces. Okay. And our main method is not taking in any parameters or arguments. All right, so looking at the exercise and what it's asking of us, we know that we're going to have a method called calculate charges to determine the charge for each customer. So let's go ahead and add that method, and this is outside of the main method. This is a separate method that we're going to create, and then we're going to call it within the main method. So create let's say create let's see, create a method. Okay, we're going to create a static method because that means it's still within this class and it can be used within this class. So it's a static method. It's also going to use the type decimal because we'll be using decimals. And it's going to use a variable that we'll have to create. Okay. Initiate a variable to be used as a parameter with type int. Okay, so that will look like static. Instead of here we have static void main, we're going to use static decimal, and then we're going to call it calculate charges. And we're going to initiate a variable with type int to be used as a parameter, and we're going to call this variable hours parked because we want to calculate the charges based on the number of hours parked. Okay, and then we're going to have to create variables, but not just any variable. We're going to create variables using const. So we're going to create const variables. Okay, we're going to create const variables to store the values of the minimum, hourly, and maximum fees, because it says there'll be a $2 minimum fee, additional 50-cent fee per hour, and then a maximum charge. So we're going to create the constant variables or const variables to store the values of min, hourly, and max fees. And like I said, the const variable the const variable means that the value that's assigned to these variables, the value that's assigned let's see, how do I say, okay, so the value that's assigned to these variables cannot be changed. Once we set the once we assign the value, it's going to stay that value, and that's what we want for the minimum, hourly, and maximum fees, because we want the minimum fee to be $2, and that's not going to change. That will be used like to determine how much to charge someone, but the actual minimum, hourly, and max fees are not, the value of those are not going to change. So a const variable means that the value that is assigned cannot be changed. Okay, so we're going to create const variables, and another thing that we haven't done before that I'm going to be doing in this one is I'm going to be using the M suffix, which tells the program or the compiler, okay, that the value should be treated as a decimal literal instead of a double or another numeric type. It's saying that it's going to be treated that it is a decimal and not any other type of any other numeric type. So okay, the M suffix tells the compiler that the value should be treated as a decimal literal. Okay. Instead of like a double or another numeric type, it will be treated, they'll know that this is a decimal value. It's going to always hold that same value. So it's kind of like how the const variable means that it can't be assigned, the value that is assigned can't be changed. It's the same for the M suffix, telling the compiler that it's going to be this decimal value and it's not going to be changed. Alright, so I hope that kind of, I don't think that I explained that well, but I hope that it makes enough sense that you understand. Okay, so we're going to have to declare a const variable. Let's see. For the minimum fee. And for the hourly rate, and we'll have to declare one for the maximum fee. And we're also going to have to declare a value for the maximum amount of hours. Because remember, it's saying that we're going to assume that no one is there for over 24 hours, so the maximum fee is going to be $10, right? Any given 24-hour period is $10, and we're going to assume that no one's going to park for more than 24 hours at a time. So we're going to assume that no one's actually going to enter anything more than 24 hours. Okay, so declare a const variable for a minimum fee, and this is also going to have type decimal. All these are going to have type decimal. Did I say that up here? Except for the number of hours will be an integer. Or the max hours. Because the max hours is not going to be a decimal, it's going to be a whole number. Okay, so let's give this little space. Okay, so now declare a const variable for minimum fee. So in order to declare a const variable, we use the keyword const, and then we're going to use the type of decimal. So const decimal, and we'll call this one minimum fee. And we're going to assign it the value of 2.00M, and because this is saying, we're going to assign it the value of 2 with the decimal numbers to 2 places, and this is not going to change. Okay, this variable is not going to change, and this decimal is not going to change. Okay, now we're going to do the same for hourly rate, except the hourly rate is going to be, the garage charges an additional 50 cents per hour. So we'll declare a const decimal for hourly rate, and we'll say 0.50 M. So again, because we're not this is not a variable that's going to be changed, and neither is the decimal. All right, now a const for maximum fee. The maximum fee is $10, so we're going to const decimal maximum fee, or let's do maximum charge, and we'll assign it the value of 10 M, and the M is a suffix, means it's added onto the end that tells it to be treated as a decimal, and that's never going to change. Okay, now declare a value for maximum number of hours, and like I said, all the variables will have type decimal except the max hours. That will be an integer, so this will still be a const because this is not going to change. It will still be that the maximum hours variable will still hold that value, and it's not going to change. Const, and we're going to use integer, and we're going to say maximum hours, and we're going to give it the value of 24 because the maximum hours will be 24 hours. Don't know why this is out of here. All right, that looks better. Okay, so now we have a variable for minimum fee, hourly rate, maximum charge, and maximum hours. And this hourly rate is not really an hourly rate. Well, it's an hourly rate, but it also is not for each additional hour, but it's for anything over that hour. So anything over, I think 3 hours, is it? For up to 3 hours. So anything over 3 hours, there'll be 50 cents added on for every hour over that. But if you stay 3 hours and 5 minutes, that's still going to be 50-cent fee. But we're just going by hours anyway, so that shouldn't even matter. Okay, so we have that. now we need to determine how much to charge. So this is saying what the fees are. These are the fees. So let's go ahead. Fees. And we'll move all this over. Okay, these are the fees. And now we're going to determine how much to charge. Okay, and we're going to determine how much to charge by the what we were given in the exercise, that anything over for up to 3 hours is going to be the minimum fee. So defining how much to charge, we're going to have a minimum fee for 3 hours or less. And we're going to have let's see. Let's see, we're going to have okay. The garage charges an additional 50-cent pay for each hour or a part thereof in excess of 3 hours. So we're going to have the minimum fee, and then we're going to also have the additional fee over 3 hours, or the hourly rate. So we're going to have to use okay, let's see. Okay, let's just do this first. Okay, minimum fee for 3 hours or less. We're going to say if hours parked is less than or equal to 3 hours parked, right? Then we're going to and we will return the minimum fee, which is $2. Else, if otherwise, if it's more than 3 hours, so if hours parked is less than or equal to the maximum hours, so if it's not the minimum, so if hours parked is less than the maximum hours, but it is not, that this statement here is not true, that the hours parked is less than or equal to 3 hours, but it is less than or equal to maximum hours, then we're going to have to calculate the additional charges for parking longer than 3 hours. So how do we do that? Is by using let's see, create a variable for the additional charges. No, create a variable to add the additional charges. Okay, so we're going to do that by a decimal, type decimal, and we'll say additional charges. And it's going to take the parameters of hours parked And then because we're saying there is an initial fee of $2 minimum, for the first 3 hours. So we're going to say for the additional hours, we're going to take the hours parked and we're going to subtract 3 hours because we already have that minimum fee of $2. So we're going to subtract the first 3 hours, and we only want to add the additional hours. So we don't want to include these first 3 hours. We only want to add the additional hours only. Not all the hours total, but just the additional hours. So anything over 3 hours, we're going to add 50 cents to. So we're going to take the value of hourly rate, so that's 50 cents. So hourly rate and then we're going to return and how we're going to do this is we're going to use math.min. We're going to use the math.min method, and we're going to take 2 arguments. The maximum charge and the value of minimum fee. Okay, 2 arguments, the maximum charge variable and the value of minimum fee. So we're going to use maximum charge and minimum fee. The value of maximum charge and the value of minimum fee by calling those variables. Okay, we are also going to add the additional charge So what math.min does with these 2 arguments, and okay, so what it does with these 2 arguments here, the maximum charge and the minimum fee, is math.min. It will return the value, let's see, so it'll turn the lesser of the 2 values. Okay, so it's going to take these 2 values, the maximum charge and the minimum fee, and it's going to return the lesser of the 2 values. Sorry, this is not, nope, we're going to multiply this by the hourly rate. So this will be hours parked minus 3, and then time multiplied by the hourly rate. Sorry, I don't know why I just clicked enter instead of the multiply chain. Okay, so now use math.min is how we're going to get the lesser of the two values. So we're going to do return math.min with the with two arguments of minimum fee plus, okay, this is what I did. So the value of maximum charge and adding the value of minimum fee, and then okay, sorry, this makes more sense. So we're going to use math.min with method with two arguments, which is the minimum fee plus the additional charge, and is that additional charges? No, additional charge. Additional charge. Okay, yes, plus the additional charge. No, it is additional charges. Okay, yes, because we're not adding 50 cents. We're adding the actual value of the additional charges. So minimum fee plus additional charges. We're going to select. We're going to return the lesser of the two, minimum fee plus additional charges, or we're going to return the maximum charge. Okay, sorry, I know I said that really confusing, guys. I'm sorry. I hope you understand what I was saying wrong. Okay. So we are going to, again, use the math.min method to find the lesser of these two, either the minimum fee plus the additional charges or the maximum charge. Whichever is the lesser is what we're going to be returning. And this is actually going to be else. So we're going to say, if the hours parked is less than or equal to 3, return the minimum fee. Else, if the hours parked is less than or equal to the maximum hours, then we are going to calculate the hours parked minus 3 times the hourly rate. Okay, let's see. Oh, no. Okay, this is wrong. This is not else. Okay, we are going to say okay, so we're going to say if the hours parked is less than or equal to 3, we're going to return the minimum fee. Else, or otherwise, if the hours parked is less than or equal to the maximum hours, we are going to why do they keep doing that? Okay, we are going to calculate the additional charges, or we're going to save it in the variable additional charges, but we're going to calculate the hours parked minus 3 times the hourly rate. Okay, I think that's right now. All right, let me just check here. Let's see. Okay, static decimal, calculate charges, int hours parked. And then we will const minimum fee, hourly rate, maximum charge, maximum hours. Determine how much to charge. If hours parked is less than or equal to 3, return a minimum fee. Else, if hours parked is less than or equal to maximum hours, then return, or then do this, which is decimal, additional charges, hours parked minus 3 multiplied by the hourly rate. Okay, and then return math.min, minimum fee plus additional charges, maximum charge. You're going to find whichever is the lesser of the two. Okay. And then else we're going to return maximum charge. And this is the end of calculate charges method. Okay, so now what we need to do is go back to our main method. And we're going to need to first, okay, so first we'll need to declare a variable. Declare a variable to store the value of total receipts. Okay, and we're going to use type decimal. And initiate it with the value of 0, or give it the starting value of 0. Because when we start, we're not going to have any value for the total receipts, because no one hasn't been a customer yet. So this total receipts will start at 0. So we'll say decimal total receipts, and then we're going to give it the value initial starting value of 0. Okay, and then we're also going to have to declare another variable, and this will be used to store the customer number, like the customer count, what customer it is. Okay, declare a variable to store the number value for each customer, and we're going to use type int for this, because it won't be a decimal, it's going to be a whole number, because a customer can only be one whole person. So it'll be a whole number, and we're going to initialize it with the value of 1. Or giving a start value of 1. We're giving it a starting value of 1, or initializing it with 1, because the first customer is going to be customer number 1. It's not going to be customer number 0 or any other number. It's going to be customer number 1. So we're going to have an int type, and we'll call it customer count. This is telling the count, or the number for each customer, and we're going to initialize it with the value of 1. Okay. Now we're going to have to get the, we're going to have the prompt the user to enter the hours parked for each customer. Well, for customer, because it'll be for the customer that it's customer number 1. We'll have a loop next, and it will say customer number 1, and it'll enter it'll prompt them to enter the hours. And we're also going to have to we're going to have to create a read line for that, but that will be within the loop. So for right now, all we're going to do is prompt the user to enter the number for hours parked. Okay, actually this is not a prompt. This is just a statement. So we're just going to tell the user, so this is more like a title. Title to tell user to enter hours parked for each customer. So this is just more like a title. Enter the number of hours parked for each customer. And I guess this is really just a title. You don't even need that. It's because we're going to prompt the user to enter the number of hours parked for each user within the loop that we're going to start next. So we're going to start a while loop. We're going to say begin while loop. And we're going to use the condition of true. Condition of true. That way it makes the loop continuous, which means that it's not going to stop until the user doesn't add any more prompts. So in order to begin the while loop, and we're going to use the condition of true, we just type the keyword while, and in parentheses we type true to give it the condition of true, and then it'll say while this is happening. So while this is true, and it's going to continuously be true until the user doesn't put in an input. So we'll say this is where we're going to display the customer count, or customer number, I guess. Maybe I should have wrote customer number, I don't know. And we're going to do that by a write line. And let's just say we'll start it at a new line so it has space before the line if it needs it. So right here, enter the number of hours parked per each customer, and then we're going to give it a space between, and we're going to say customer number. Number, and then we're going to get the value of the customer count. So we can do this a couple ways. First, we can use a concatenated, that's how you say it, concatenated. It's really just how it's spelled. That's how you say it, concatenated. I don't know why I have such a hard time with it. Okay, so we can use a concatenated string, which is using the plus symbol, plus customer count, and then plus, and we'll do a colon. So this will say customer number, and then it will have, for the first one, because the customer count has an initial value of 1, it will read like this. Customer number 1. And then it will have the colon. Okay. Now another way that we can write this is by using, instead of concatenated string, an interpolated string, which is still, we'll be using a right line. Oh. My goodness. And before the string, we're going to enter a $sign. I mean, before the double quotations. And then we're just going to write, well, we're going to write the tab, or the new line. And we'll write customer number. And then we just need these curly braces. And within the curly braces, we're going to put customer count. And then outside of the curly braces is the colon. So customer number and then customer count. We don't need a space there though. And then the colon. So it'll still read the same. Customer number 1 colon. So you can do it either way. I think I'm going to leave mine with the interpolated string just because that seems like a little bit less. Oh, might help if I spelled it right. Customer count. Okay, that just seems like just a teeny bit less writing and just a little bit more efficient. Okay, so we have the customer count. Now we need to create a variable. Well, we need to prompt the user to enter the number of hours parked for that customer. So for each customer, we're going to prompt user to enter the number of hours parked finally for each customer. And that will be console.writeLine with the prompt. Hours parked. And we can give this, we're going to give a space in between here, in between the lines, so customer number, and then there'll be a line in between hours parked. And then we're going to have to read and store the value of hours parked as an integer by parsing it using int parse. We should know how to do this by now. So read and store the value of hours parked as an integer, and we'll do this by hours parked equals int dot parse console dot read line. So we should know this already. We've done this so many times. We should definitely know this by now. All right, so now it will read the value that's input here. It's going to read this input value, and it's going to make sure it reads it as an integer and store it in this variable hours parked. So down here now in this method, oh, I don't know why that's underlined. I don't know, we're missing something there. So in that method, when it reads the hours parked, it's taking in the hours parked from the method, not from the main method. I guess if that makes sense. Okay, so we have our read line. Now we need an if statement. Okay, if statement for if the input for hours parked has a negative value, so if number of hours parked has negative value, then we're going to we're going to display an error statement, and we're going to stop the loop and skip to the end of the loop. So we're going to say if the hours parked is less than 0. If hours parked is less than 0. So we're not going to say less than or equal to 0, because it could be that someone stayed like 30 minutes. They still have to pay the minimum fee. So if it's less than 0 is how we're going to get if it's negative. So if the hours parked is less than 0, then what we're going to do is and what we're going to do is display an error statement. So we'll say something like error let's see, the number of hours parked cannot be a negative value or something like that. Number of hours parked cannot be a negative value. Something like that, okay? You can write whatever you want for your error statement. You don't even need an error statement. That's just, I feel like that's just, instead of just stopping it and not saying anything, it just is better to have an error statement. So within the if statement still, oh, what just happened? Okay, well, I guess I deleted it. We are going to have what I already typed, but I deleted. So we are going to have, we're going to stop the loop and skip to the end of the loop. Okay, and we're going to do this by a break, by using break. So it's keyword break. Okay, so this will stop the while loop, and it will skip to the end of the loop, the while loop. It's going to stop it and skip to, oh my goodness, that's where it went. Okay. What the heck? Why is it still there? It's weird. Okay, is it deleted? Okay. So that's the end of our if statement there. So if it's negative, then we're going to return an error, we're going to display an error, and we're going to display an error statement and then stop the loop and skip to the end of the loop. Okay, and now we're going to create a variable to store the amount that's going to be charged. So, and this is outside of the if statement now. This is still part of our while loop, but not within the if statement. So, okay. So we're going to create a variable to store the amount to be charged. Okay, so this will have the type of decimal, and we're going to assign it the value of, and this is where we're going to call our calculate charges method. and then it will also take hours parked as an argument. Okay, so it will look like a variable with type decimal, so decimal, and let's name this charge, since this is where we're going to store the amount to be charged, so let's call it charge. This is what the customer will be charged, and we're going to call the method of calculate charges with the argument of hours, or with the parameters or argument, I don't know. Okay, so hours parked is what we're going to be calculating. To calculate the charges, we're going to calculate the charges of the hours parked, and then we're going to store it in the variable of charge. And a semicolon. Okay. All right, now we can display the amount charged by using a string, and we know it can be either interpolated or concatenated, and it doesn't matter which one, either one will give you the same results. So we're going to do a console.writeLine, and we're going to say, I'm going to do again an interpolated string, which means starting with the $, and then within the parentheses I'm going to say amount charged, and that'll be the amount charged. That's why it's in this loop, because it's the amount charged per customer. So as it goes through this loop, it'll be customer 1 will be amount charged will be this amount, customer 2 amount charged will be this amount. So it will be different the amount charged is going to be different per customer based on the hours parked per customer. Okay, so the amount charged, we're going to give it a $, and then within the braces we're going to say this variable that we just created that's going to store the calculated charges for the hours parked. We're going to enter charge, so it's going to say amount charged, and then there'll be the $sign here, and it'll give the value of the charge. Okay, and then now we're going to need to give the total receipts variable up here. We're going to assign a new value for that. So we'll say total receipts equals total receipts plus charge. So we're going to take this charge, we're going to take the total that we already have, which before it starts the while loop, the value is 0. So the initial value is 0, so the total receipts will be 0. And then we're going to assign the value of the total receipts plus the charge. So this first iteration, it's going to have the total receipts as the value of that single charge. But the next iteration, the total receipts will have the value of this first charge. And then it's going to have the value of the total receipts from the last customer plus the charge from this new customer. So an easier way to write this is plus equals charge, and that's saying the same thing. Total receipts is assigning the new value of total receipts plus charge. Okay, so that's saying this same thing. All right, so this is the end of the while loop. All right, let me just check this now. hours parked. I don't know why these are underlined. Additional charges. Oh. Calculate charges. Oh, yes. I know. Additional charges equals. There we go. Additional charges is getting assigned the value of hours parked minus 3 multiplied by the hourly rate. Okay, I don't know how I didn't catch that earlier when I kept saying is equal to, but okay. All right, so let's see how this is working now, if everything is displaying correctly. So it says enter the number of hours parked for each customer. Customer number 1, hours parked. Oh, you know what? And we don't have to have a new line for the input, but okay. Hours parked, let's say 2 hours parked, and that should give us the amount of $2 because it's under 3 hours. And again, if it's 3 hours or less, it should give us the amount of charge of $2. Oh, you know what though? We're not displaying the total amount. So hours parked, amount charged. Okay, you're right. We are not displaying the total amount here. So let's say we are also not, let's see. Right, it all says customer 1, customer 1, customer, because we're not actually adding a new customer to the end of each loop either. So for each loop, we want to create another right line to display the total receipts. So we want to display the amount of total receipts for the day. And of course that's a console.write line, and that again will be an interpolated or concatenated string. Me though, I will use interpolated string, and I'm going to say well, first I'm going to give it a new line, and I'm going to give it a couple tabs so it really stands out that this is going to be the total. And then I'm going to say total receipts and give it a $sign, and I'm going to put input here, this right here, total receipts. Okay, and give it the semicolon. So now this is going to display the value for total receipts, and we also need to increment the value of the customer count, or the customer number, right? So the customer account variable by 1. So we're going to do this by calling the customer count variable, which is customer count, and we're going to say plus plus. So just like we have used in previous chapters and previous assignments, like we did I plus plus to increment by 1, this is customer count plus plus, because we're going to increment by 1 for each iteration. We're going to increment by 1 customer count. Okay, and then we also want to do the console.read line within That way we have that, we don't have all the extra lines in there, and it won't close until the user presses enter. All right, now let's see how that looks. Okay, enter the number of hours parked for each customer. Customer 1, hours parked, let's say 3. And so the amount charged is $2, and the total right now is $2. Let's say customer 2, see how the customer number went up. And we'll say this customer parked for 4 hours, which means it should give the initial charge of $2 and then also 50 cents. So that should charge $2.50. And it did charge $2.50, and the total receipt is now $4.50. Now it says that the maximum charge will be $10. So let's say we parked for 15 hours. Okay, that's still not even, you can park a long time for pretty cheap here then, because 15 hours is still only $8 because it's only 50 cents per additional hour. So let's say we parked for 20 hours. The amount charged is $10. So it's not $2 for the first 3 hours and 17 divided by 50 cents, so 8.50, 8.59, 10. So this would be 10.50, and instead it's the maximum amount of 10. So everything looks good. It's the total receipts is coming up on everyone, and if you hit enter, it'll close out. I don't know why that's there. Okay. I don't know why that's highlighted. Okay, whatever. There we go. No, I don't know. So the input string is not correct. Yeah, it is. I don't know. I don't know why it's... Okay, anyway. So it looks like everything's good. That's basically how you do this. I really should have worded it better and done this video a little bit better, but hopefully, even though I worded it really poorly and had to go over some things a couple times, hopefully it still helped you and you still were able to understand it better than having no type of explanation or going through it at all. So hopefully this helped. It does make, like I said, it does meet the basic requirements of the assignment, but as all of the assignments, I would definitely suggest making it your own, making it look different. You know, maybe you can add things, like for mine, I think I added, like I had, each one had the total number, but then once you exited the program, it showed like just the total number, the total amount charged for the day. So here it shows that for every person, and I had mine, it showed it for every person, but then it also showed it at the end as like it just popped up over here at the end, kind of different, and I had laid this out a little different, and I would suggest that everybody kind of does that the same and makes it their own. Okay, again, don't forget to save all, and yeah, like I said, I hope these videos are helping you guys.